help draw our teams is Ralph Luongo, BC Soccer. Ralph, I know you're looking forward to this one, as always. We're going to see how well you can pop the balls open.
Put the pressure on me, Tom.
Absolutely, right from the start. So we have several different draws to get to. There's several different formats, and we'll be filling in the bracket, hopefully, as we follow along at home. Just a reminder that the final draw results will be verified and emailed out to teams afterwards, so it is technically unofficial. We hope no mistakes, but we will be auditing it before we send it out. So we're going to go with 99%. What you see filled in on your computer screen is what it's going to be like, but we do reserve the right to correct a posthumous mistake there. The other thing is, when it comes to the men's draws, one of the leagues, the Fraser Valley Soccer League, has not quite finalized and confirmed their seeding just yet. So while we do know the teams right now, all we can draw is the places. So we'll just have some placeholders, and I will try my best to try and let everybody at home know who we think might be in those spots. But again, that's awaiting final confirmation from the Fraser Valley Soccer League. So with all that preliminary stuff out of the way, I think we are ready to start with our first draw of the day, and that's going to be the men's over 45 Provincial Cup. So we have 4 seeded teams here. They're the red balls, and then we have the rest of the draw in the orange balls. So without further ado, Ralph, if we could start with the red balls, please.
First team is Lake Hill.
There we go. Lake Hill first out, getting us off and running. So we'll go into the top portion of the draw, and they'll have a bye.
Next up, FC Romania.
FC Romania from the Vancouver League. So they will not have a bye, but they will proceed directly to the... I guess they do have a bye through the preliminary round, but we will know their opponent today.
Fraser Valley Soccer League 1.
Okay, so the Fraser Valley placeholder for their seeded team, which we believe is going to be Langley United Heat, but again, waiting on Fraser Valley to confirm.
And the last one.
Should hopefully say Columbus, otherwise we're not off to a great start.
Columbus FC.
Columbus goes into that last seeded spot. Okay. So now, as we get to the preliminary round matchups, we will be trying to keep an eye on avoiding having a VMSL versus VMSL matchup in the preliminary round. And this will be the same for all the cups today. However, sometimes it's unavoidable. So today we do have just one Fraser Valley team and the rest are VMSL teams. So there is going to be VMSL against VMSL in the preliminary round at least once, if not twice. Because if Fraser Valley does draw directly into one of the quarterfinal spots, they will get to go there. Okay, so with that, over to you, Ralph. Reno's Primo, there we go. So they're going to go straight into that quarterfinal matchup against Romania.
PCOV.
And PCOV will get the other bye into the game against Columbus FC. Fraser Valley 2. There we go. So they'll go over here and they'll be hosting the preliminary round game, the first preliminary round game. We believe that's going to be Ridge Meadows, but again, we're waiting on confirmation.
Port Moody.
And
Sorry. Port Moody.
so there we go. So Fraser Valley hosting Port Moody, and if it is Ridge Meadows, that'll be a closer travel day for Port Moody than perhaps they're always used to in the Vancouver League.
Croatia SC.
And Croatia Vitrini, who were runners-up in the VMSL Masters B Cup at the weekend, get another chance at the Cup, but they're going to have to go the long way. They will host that final preliminary round matchup, though. And there we are. So that completes the men's over 45 cup. So again, well done, Ralph. You managed to avoid any conflicts in that preliminary round. So first test of the day passed. And We look forward to a great tournament. Again, those preliminary round matchups starting that first week of April, and it should be a great tournament as Columbus FC are back to try and defend their title from last year. So, moving on from that, if we are all set with the next round of balls, I believe we are. So we have the Women's Masters B Cup draw now, again with featuring teams from the Lower Island Women's Soccer Association and the Metro Women's League. Again, we have a couple of seeds. So as you can see, oh, no, maybe not. Maybe you can't see yet, but I'm sure it's coming. There we are. So the seeds will proceed directly to the semifinals, and everybody else will be drawn in accordingly. So, Ralph, if we could pick our seeded teams.
Gorge FC.
So the Lower Island Women's seed, Gorge FC, as they hope to reach the final on relatively home turf out in Victoria this year.
PCOV.
And the Metro Women's Soccer League seeded team, PCOV, in the second semifinal. All right, so now with this preliminary round, we won't be having the Lower Island teams and the Metro Women's teams playing a team from their own division, so we may have to bump someone down. But first one's definitely going where we pull it, so go ahead.
Cowichan Cougars.
So a home game for Cowichan. Now they cannot play Vic West, so if they do draw Vic West, then Vic West will drop into the other preliminary game.
Langley United Ninjas.
And so Langley United Ninjas. So again, well done, Ralph. So no problems the rest of the way. Just keep pulling the balls.
Langley United Jaguars.
So a home game for the Metro Women's team. And hopefully this says Vic West.
Vic West FC.
Vic West indeed. All right. There we go. So that completes the Masters B Cup draw. Again, Cowichan Cougars are back this season to try and defend the title they won last year. And again, this time they'll have it on home turf. When the championships roll around, the final on April 27th in Victoria this year. A few games to go before we get there in the Masters Women's B Cup. So with that bracket set, we'll now turn our attention to the Men's B Cup draw. And again, we have several Fraser Valley teams, some of which will be Burnaby-based teams, and unfortunately we'll just be drawing placeholders for this one. So that'll get a little confusing, but hopefully we'll stay on top of it. With 16 teams in the draw, everybody's going into the preliminary round. So again, we are going to avoid internal conflicts where possible, but by the end of it, if we get down and there's only Fraser Valley teams left or there's only Island teams left, we're not going to separate those teams. But Ralph will take this one just a little bit slower, okay? We will start with the seeded teams and draw them into the predetermined spots in the bracket. FC Sumi, the upstarts from the Vancouver League, an undefeated season to this point. Their only loss coming in penalties against a Premier Division team in the Cup.
Richmond Old Blacks.
Yeah. The Richmond champions, perennial contenders in this tournament. Back for another try. Oh, our first struggle of the day, Ralph. You've been going so well.
Lake Hill FC.
And the Islands seeded team. Lake Hill, again, trying to run it all the way on home turf.
Fraser Valley 1.
And that'll be the seeded team from the Valley.
Last one. Rios.
And the second seeded team
from the Vancouver League. So again, as we switch over now to the remainder of the draw, we are going to avoid those conflicts where possible. And I apologize with the podium setup. This is going to have me checking my shoulder, but hopefully everybody at home is just watching a graphic. All right, so Ralph, if we're ready, you cannot draw a Vancouver team here. If you do, it'll get bumped down the draw. So go ahead. Okay, that can go right where it is. Perfect. So this time you can't draw a Richmond team. Alas, you have drawn a Richmond team, though, Ralph. So that instead, Rain City will be headed to the island to play Lake Hill. Yes, they're going to be very upset with you. So now again, as long as this isn't the other Richmond team, this will go back up and play the Old Blacks.
Fraser Valley 5.
So Fraser Valley 5 playing the Old Blacks. We know Rain City's off to play Lake Hill, and now this is a home team. We're drawing a home team here, so it can be anybody. Norvan, Masters A, get a home game. So only restriction here is you can't draw harps from the Vancouver League. Anybody else is fair game.
Fraser Valley 6.
Fraser Valley 6 headed to the North Shore. All right, yep, way you go. And not a Fraser Valley team this time.
Vancouver Harps FC.
There we go, just in time. So Harps headed to the Valley. And this will be a home team. There we go. So the other Richmond team, thanks you very much for their home draw. It's just Rain City you've got to square away with. No Richmond teams left, so whoever you pull here is just fine to come play Heatherbray.
Fraser Valley 2.
Fraser Valley 2 it is. Okay, so you're going to need to draw one of the island teams here. Okay, if you draw the other Fraser Valley team, they're going to bump down. Good work, Ralph. All right, so SFFC from the island coming across to play Reno's, and this should leave us Bays United against the last Fraser Valley member. Who gets the home game?
Fraser Valley 4.
Oh, and you've angered someone else who now has to take a ferry. So that should be Bays United coming across to face the final Fraser Valley participant.
Bays United.
Bays United it is. So well done. Only one conflict drawn there, Ralph. So if we can maximize that through the rest of the draw, we'll be doing just fine. So that is the 16-team field for the Masters B Cup. Everybody will be playing starting on the 5th, 6th, and 7th of April. And Vancouver Harps FC, again, are also back to attempt to defend their crown. So now we flip over to the Women's Masters A Cup draw, and there's just the two teams in this one, Castaways United from the island and Coquitlam Metro Ford Classics from the mainland rather, and we already know the game's going to be in Victoria, but who will be the home team on the day? Go ahead, Ralph. Picking their choice of kit color and watching the other captain call the coin toss. And it's only fitting that the island team is the host. And this should be Coquitlam Metro Ford Classics, perennial contenders in this tournament. So Castaways against Metro Ford. I believe a rematch from last year. Castaways came to the mainland and won last year. Coquitlam will be hoping to head to the island and bring the trophy back on the ferry with them. That being our smallest tournament of the day, it went rather quickly. How you feeling, Ralph? We're about halfway here.
Pretty good.
All right, we're flying.
How am I doing?
Yeah. Only one ball, only one conflict. So far, so good, right? Okay, so now we're getting set for the Masters A Men's Provincial Cup draw. Of course, last season's champions, Inter EDC from the VMSL, are back again. We have 3 Fraser Valley teams that we're not quite sure on. But other than that, everybody else is ready to go. And this is another one with the buys, so anybody can play anybody in the quarterfinal round. But in those preliminary matchups, we will be keeping the leagues apart as much as possible. So with that, let's begin with our seeded teams.
Westside FC.
Great job, Ralph. Really nicely done. For anyone who doesn't know, I do have a bit of a connection with the Westside team, so thank you for remembering to pull them first.
It's not gonna listen. Fraser Valley 1.
Fraser Valley 1, we expect that to be Langley United Knights, but again, we'll wait for confirmation from the Fraser Valley.
West Van FC.
And the VMSL champions in the other seeded position in the bottom half of the draw.
Cowichan 49ers.
And the Islands champions. Okay, so we'll jump out to the preliminary round now, and again, we'll try and avoid those league versus league matchups. There are 4 VMSL teams to 2 teams from the Valley and 2 teams from the Island, so we may not be able to do it, but we're going to do our best. So without further ado, Ralph.
Inter EDC.
So Inter will be hosting in the first round. Yep. Don't draw a Vancouver team.
Fraser Valley 2.
Fraser Valley 2, which again we believe is going to be Ridge Meadows, I believe, for the Masters A Cup, but we will wait and see. Ridge Meadows Thunder, I believe.
Prospect Lake FC.
There we go. So a home game for Prospect Lake on the island. And we're sending somebody across the strait.
Fraser Valley 3.
Fraser Valley 3 booking their ferry travel as soon as they are confirmed.
Columbus FC.
And Columbus with a home game. So it's not going to be possible to avoid a VMSL versus VMSL matchup somewhere along the way here. So if this is a VMSL team, we will put it in the draw where it comes out.
Port Moody SC.
So Port Moody will play Columbus.
Pegasus Surrey FC.
And a home game for Pegasus, which should mean a ferry ride for Vic West.
Vic West FC.
Vic West it is. All right, so there are the full teams drawn into the Masters A Cup. Again, that preliminary round will take place April 5th to 7th. The 4 seeded teams do get their buys, so a week off while they wait to see, I'm sure with bated breath, who they will be playing in that second round, all leading up to the finals in Victoria on April 27th. We're getting down here, Ralph. Only a couple more to go. We're making great time as well, I think. No major delays. We all remember last year's draw, Ralph. Come on. All right. Okay, so moving on now to the Women's B Cup draw. And again, we'll have 10 teams in this draw. So with the 4 seeds, 2 of them will get those, well, everybody gets a bye to the second round, but 2 of them will be waiting for those preliminary round matches. And here we are, the bracket's ready to go. So let's proceed with our seeded teams.
Sabres, Vancouver United.
Vancouver United, first out. Wandafuka United with the second seeded position.
Nanaimo Thrive.
And the Island seed. The Mid-Island, rather.
TSS Rovers.
And the TSSFC Rovers into that final seeded position. All right, so now we will draw the remainder of the teams, and we will, for as long as we can, keep the island teams apart. But at some point, I believe they will have to play each other. So go ahead, Ralph.
Gorge FC.
Gorge FC off to face Wandafuka. So even though that is island against island, that's in the quarterfinals. So we will be putting that matchup in as drawn. So go ahead with the next ball.
Gorge United.
And Gorge United goes down at the bottom. They'll be coming across to play TSS. So you have done well here, Ralph, so we will avoid now in the preliminaries. The two remaining island teams will not play each other, and the two remaining Metro women's teams will not play each other.
Port Moody Gunners.
So home game for the Port Moody Gunners. So it can't be Chilliwack next. You'll need to draw an island team. Oh, Ralph, we were going on such a roll. So Chilliwack will move down. They'll be Team 9, which means you've made everyone on the island upset because both their teams, they're going to move to 10? Away team goes to away team. All right, well, there you go. You've been saved, Ralph. Somebody on the island will still not be upset with you. So Chilliwack goes down to Team 10, and we'll now go back up and draw who's coming across to play Port Moody.
Comox United.
Comox. All right, which should leave a home game for Saanich Fusion. Indeed it does. All right, Ralph, we're going to have to get you to sharpen up for these last couple draws there. That was a bit of a regression from you on that one, but it's all in good fun, and we're looking forward to a lot of fun and a lot of great competition with the Women's Provincial B Cup this season. And I don't believe, no, so there will be a new champion this year, as the North Shore Girls Soccer Impact are not in the tournament this year. So we'll have a brand new champion taking home the Lita Sokolsky Women's Provincial B Cup. We'll move on now to the Keith Miller Men's B Cup draw. This is another 16-team tournament. So again, we will be drawing the seeds into their positions in the draw, and then we will be avoiding as much as possible the same league versus the same league in the first round, okay? And again, unfortunately, we don't have confirmation on exactly which Fraser Valley teams will be playing where, so we will just be drawing those placeholders. And if everybody's up and ready to go, let's do it, Ralph.
Castaways FC.
There we go, Castaways FC, hoping to ride the first name out of the pot all the way home, all the way through the finals for Castaways.
AC West Coast United.
AC West Coast United from the Richmond League. seeded team from the Fraser Valley, which may be Central Athletics, but not entirely sure just yet.
Bombastic FC.
And that's the Vancouver Metro Soccer League's Division II Cup champions, Bombastic FC.
Fraser Valley 2.
And the other seeded team from the Valley, which I believe will be Team Mexico from the Burnaby League, but again, waiting for the administrator at Fraser Valley to confirm those details. Okay, so now here we go, Ralph. You'll have to run the gauntlet again.
Here we go.
Cannot draw an island team to start.
WS Strikers.
WS Strikers are headed to the island. Only one Richmond team in here, Ralph, so I'm sure you can avoid it.
Vic West Division 4.
And the Vic West Division 4 representatives, of course, their Division 3 representatives are also in the tournament this year. So the Division 4s will be coming across to play the Richmond League champs. And you can't draw a Fraser Valley team here.
Vic West.
Oh, and there's right on cue, there's Vic West's cohort. All right, so they're coming across to play Fraser Valley, and you can draw anybody into this spot, Ralph.
It sounds like a cheese. Fraser Valley 5.
I can confirm the plastic eggshells are incredibly opaque, so.
Gastown Astro FC.
So Gastown headed to the Valley. Cannot draw a Vancouver team here.
Fraser Valley 6.
Fraser Valley 6 it is. Heading down to play Bombastic. Anybody can go here.
West Coast Celtics.
So a home game for West Coast Celts out of the Vancouver League. They won the last chance playoff to get into the tournament just at the weekend there.
Fraser Valley 3.
And they'll be hosting a team from the Valley. So you can't have the Fraser Valley team here, otherwise it's all good.
Vancouver Green Caps.
Vancouver Green Caps B, the other division winner, along with Bombastic from the VMSL. They'll be headed to the Valley, which leaves us Richmond against the Valley to finish. Who will be playing at home? Grads. There we go. The second Richmond League representative gets a home game. And this should say Fraser Valley 4.
Fraser Valley 4.
There you go, Ralph. Way to completely redeem yourself on this draw. Clean run from start to finish. All right, so good luck to the teams competing for the Keith Miller Men's Provincial B Cup. And last year's winners, Ziacton FC, based out of the Fraser Valley, are not in the tournament this year. So again, we will have a new champion come April 27th at Starlight Stadium in Langford. Okay, so now we'll move on to our final two tournaments, the women's and men's A Cups. Of course, this is leading to the national champions, the national championship. And this year, I believe the national championships in October will be hosted in Surrey. So a home nationals for the BC teams, so lots of incentive for everyone to make it there. Now, before we get into the Women's A Cup, just a note for those watching along at home. In the draw package you received, we have had a late withdrawal from the tournament, so that's going to change the draw a little bit. We're only going to have that one preliminary round matchup now. So the teams, now you'll still see Team 6 when the graphic comes up in the preliminary round, but Team 6 will have a bye. So again, we did have one late withdrawal there, so it'll just be a 9-team tournament this year. And with that, Ralph, if you could draw the seeds for us.
Gorge FC, Team Sales.
Gorge FC. Looking to reclaim the title they won 2 seasons ago.
CMFC Premier.
And the Coquitlam Women's Premier Team taking their place.
Surrey United.
Surrey United, the defending champions, back for another season, looking to begin another one of those dynasties they've had so often throughout the years, and again, building to that home nationals in Surrey.
Nanaimo United FC.
And Nanaimo United, rounding out the seeded teams. So again, the next teams out, 5, 6, and 7, will all be advancing directly to the quarterfinals. So go ahead, Ralph.
Lake Hill FC.
So there we are. So Lake Hill proceeding to come across to play Coquitlam, which means our preliminary matchup will be Metro Women's versus Metro Women's. We won't be able to avoid it.
Fusion FC.
So this is that one I was talking about. So Team 6 is Fusion FC, so they will have a bye. So even though the graphic shows them in the preliminary round, they will be advancing to play Surrey United that second week of the tournament. All right.
Coastal FC.
And Coastal FC with a trip to Nanaimo as they round out the teams advancing directly to the quarterfinals April 12th to 14th. So now we'll have our preliminary matchup, which will happen April 5th, 6th, or 7th.
North Shore Impact.
North Shore Impact hosting, and it should be their MWSL rivals Burnaby Premier. And there we are. So that completes the 2024 Women's Provincial A Cup draw, as these 9 teams will be vying to represent British Columbia at the Canada Soccer Association National Championships in October. So good luck to all the teams. And we look forward to seeing you at the final Sunday, April 28th in Victoria. Okay, so last tournament for the day is the Men's Provincial A Cup. Again, we have 16 teams. Again, we don't know exactly which of the 5 Fraser Valley teams will be which. Again, we'll try and give you an indication based on what we know on their qualifying criteria, but we'll wait for the league to finalize those spots. We've got the 4 seeded teams that will be drawn into the 4 quarters of the 16-team draw, and then we will be avoiding having the same teams from the same teams from the same leagues face each other in this preliminary round, which everybody will be playing in April 5th to 7th. So Ralph, if we could start with the seeds, please. Vancouver United Hibernian, the VMSL's Imperial Cup champions and possibly league champions. That's still to be decided. They'll be at home throughout the tournament.
Fraser Valley 1.
And the Fraser Valley seed, which we believe is going to be Abbotsford United, into the top half with VUFC. And now the bottom half.
Vic West FC.
Vic West, exactly where they were hoping to be drawn in one of those top half of the half draws, which means Vic West can be at home all the way through the final if they continue to advance.
VMSL 2.
And the other seeded team from the Vancouver League is going to be either BB5 United CCB, the 3-time defending champions, or Columbus FC. There's still a couple of games left to determine who's going where. All right then. So now, Ralph, this is where we've got to avoid those league versus league matchups. So first ball you draw cannot be a Vancouver Metro team. Fraser Valley 3 coming to VUFC, playing out likely out towards UBC for our first match.
Fraser Valley 2.
Fraser Valley 2 gets a home game. I believe that's going to be Langley United.
Port Moody.
They'll be playing Port Moody from the Vancouver League. So you can't draw a Fraser Valley team here.
Lake Hill FC.
The Lake Hill FC from the Vancouver Island Soccer League coming across to play, I believe, against Abbotsford, but again, we'll wait and see.
EMSL 3.
So a home game there for, again, whichever of BB5 or Columbus FC is not the seeded team.
CMFC Wolves.
So Coquitlam can't go there, so they'll have to bump down and take the ferry over to Vic West, Ralph. So you're going to have some apologies to hand out to the Coquitlam guys.
Gorge FC.
Gorge FC can come across, though, to face the VMSL number 3. And now you have to apologize to Gorge as well.
Wow. Inbox is flooded already. Fraser Valley 5.
And a home game for Fraser Valley 5, which I believe may be Columbus's Fraser Valley representative, but again, we'll wait to find out.
Croatia FC.
They'll be hosting Croatia from the Vancouver League. So we have to have an island team here. It can't be Fraser Valley 4. And yet it is Fraser Valley 4. So Fraser Valley 4 was going to drop down to be Team 16. And we have our 2 island teams remaining, both, one of whom, rather, I guess, will come play VMSL 2.
Comox Valley United.
So Comox Valley is coming across to play a team from the Vancouver League, whereas it should say Bays United, and they'll be hosting Fraser Valley 4.
Bays United.
Bays United it is. All right, well done, Ralph. You've made it. We've run the gauntlet. We're all set. We now know all the teams for all the tournaments. And good luck to all those involved. And again, particularly good luck to this year's women's and men's Provincial A Cup teams as they compete to represent British Columbia at the National Championships, which will be here in BC come October. I'd like to thank Ralph Longo from BC Soccer for his help with the draws. I would like to thank everybody here at the BC Sports Hall of Fame down at BC Place for hosting us today. And again, good luck to all the teams this year. We'll see you out on the pitch, and we'll see you at the finals in Victoria, April 27th and 28th.